A very good morning to all of you. This is a joint presentation by Dr. Shalini and Dr. Varuna. This presentation, which I am going to present today, is about virtual reality and inclusive education and teaching students with special needs through this virtual reality. Before I begin my presentation, I would like to, share the experience during the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. Remote teaching, at that time was required to ensure that educators could continue teaching and that students could still attend classes. However, since the necessity for remote teaching occurred, many teachers were not used to teaching virtually while ensuring that their students were given equal opportunities and environment to obtain a quality education. Since 2012, VR has experienced a vast technological revolution as handsets have gotten smaller, mobile, and it has become more and more powerful. The technology has become vastly more accessible. Additionally, 5G cell phones have made it possible to access this virtual realm from anywhere and at any time. No, now before I begin my presentation, I would like to ask certain questions that I've been never been to Rameshwaram temple that is in Tamil Nadu, and but still I wanted to have a real life experience. So how could I take that real life experiences without going there in real? And further when I contemplate, I ask these questions again to my students and to the audience, that can you imagine as a student, he is able to go to Harappan site, walk along the same path archaeologists did when they first discovered the site untouched. Can you imagine, a medical student travel through veins and human heart, seeing the cells in action while it's functioning being explained to them in detail? Moreover, can you imagine a student, learning a second language becomes so easy, and sitting in your classrooms, you are able to converse it with the, native speakers? I would say yes. My answer will be yes, and it can only be, possible through virtual reality. Now, this virtual reality, it was first surfaced in 1935, a long time ago. This idea was revolutionary for the time and like walking on the moon, only a dream. However, just like, I can say that Neil Armstrong became the first person on the moon, VR went from an idea on paper to a tool used in the classroom by more than, 15 million students, all across the world, as stated by CNN. You know, it always been, I can always say that because of this VR, the students, they learn hasn't evolved much throughout the course of history. Actually, the way students are learning through traditional method, it is encouraging rote learning, it is encouraging the content learning. They're not having a real life experiences, but through virtual reality, they can, in that stimulated conditions, they can have a real life learning in that whole process. So what I can say that this virtual reality after 2019 was a growth year for virtual reality, or I can say the all kind of the reality, whether it's the augmented reality or the mixed reality. The presence of these breakthrough technologies, begin to be felt far away from the fields of gaming and entertainment, where they first become popular. Now it is entering into the field of education at a much larger scale. So, you know, the introduction of this VR has made it possible for all the students, that to learn in a more immersive way, in a more engaging way, and it can transport the students from their, their classrooms to the virtual worlds where they can feel that they are, for example, that I was telling you at that time before I begin my my presentation, where I told you that, that I wish that I should be able to see that site of Harappan culture. I can, it can be possible through VR. I can further, I'm going to explain further during my presentation how is it possible, and how this VR is making a change in the lives of the teachers as well as the students. So I always say that, teachers should focus on creating such kind of conditions where, the students have an opportunity to explore, and rather than, providing a ready-made knowledge. According to Adobe, it has been stated by uh, Adobe. Now, before I begin further, that how virtual reality is making drastically, revolutionary change in the field of education, let's try to understand the concept of virtual reality. Virtual reality, is a computer generated environment. Okay, the environment that either be completely man-made or created from real life photos or videos, right? It is immersive. You feel like you're part of that particular scene. The user, temporarily suspend his or her beliefs and accept that they're part of the environment. And we have different types of devices that can connect us with the VR. And this VR can be accessed with the handset connected to a computer, or through a stand-alone handset also, a head mount for a smartphone, or directly from your smartphones. These smartphones have, changed the all together, the total teaching learning process. Also, not only it is used for gaming or, or for entertainment purposes, it can be connected, it can be used in the classrooms, and it can be only possible because of the virtual reality. Now, this impact of the immersion, of this immersive virtual reality may vary depending on the device you are using to assess the virtual environment. It can be known as, I say that I've already explained to you that virtual reality allows the learner or the student to interact with the computer stimulated environment, whether it's a real one or, well, it's like a creative, innovative, altogether ecosystem where, in that stimulated environment, they feel they are part of that environment, and their understanding of that particular concept becomes widened. Okay, so now there are two main ways in which VR is implemented in the classroom. It can be, through VR sets, and through immersive classrooms. I will always say that, this VR is I've already told you that this is a computer generated environment, है ना? And it can be created from a real life photos or the videos, and it can be, we can use for creating this virtual reality environment through VR handsets and through immersive classrooms. Now, what is immersive classrooms? uh, you know one of the most common and effective use of utilizing virtual reality in education is via virtual reality classrooms or immersive classroom. An immersive classroom is a teaching room in which images are projected onto the internal walls of the room. This creates altogether a virtual environment within the classroom. Now, the students can be, by sitting in their classroom only, they feel they are transported all together to a different place without having to leave the classroom. Without the need for, virtual reality handsets, students can enjoy the experience all together, and they're encouraged to interact with each other. VR handsets, they can be used in the classroom the other way, by which we can use virtual reality. And these handsets are a common and a very, very practical way of implementing VR in the classroom. These VR handsets, in comparison to the immersive virtual reality, they are less cheaper, and they have a minimal, I can say, cost of that equipment and space needed. And encouraging number of schools are turning to they are using these VR handsets. The main, so what I can explain, or what I can tell is that there both ways are quite I can say revolutionary in using this VR in the classrooms. And the main benefit of this VR handset is the level of immersion they provide actually. Although they can be little more tricky to use than immersive classrooms, but they provide us incredibly realistic experience, an experience that students aren't likely to forget in a hurry. Now, when I am talking about the concept of virtual reality, I'm talking about, the use of virtual reality in the classroom. No doubt, it is a driving force. It is the future of education, actually. Other than the industry which are related, already they were using, VR in their like whether it is the businesses or gaming, or I can say the entertainment world. Now, how this VR, virtual reality, is useful in education in number of ways. It's the it's a big advantage of virtual worlds in education, where I can say, enhance the ability to co-textualize the students learning. It's a more by the use of virtual reality, it allows the student or the learner to use 3D in a more engaging ways as compared to the real world, because he cannot go everywhere, right? This learner cannot be given a first-hand experience of everything by taking them to that real world. Okay, so we can, in this the same classroom, we can give a 3D version of whole, I can say, create an environment within the classroom through this immersive virtual reality. Unlike most real world classroom, a virtual world teaching space can be available 24/7 for your students. And because the traditional method of teaching, or the teaching learning process is boring, little, making the students less creative and less innovative. By use of VR, we can be more creative, we can be more innovative. It creates altogether an inclusive environment. Why inclusive here? Because the students who are special in nature, who are having any kind of impairment, or whether it's a hearing impairment or they're having a learning disability, they can learn with their own pace, with their own interest, with their own potentialities and capabilities. Because it will be like the teacher can record these lessons, and they can have that access to this at whenever they feel like, whenever they want to, and as per their requirement, as per their educational needs. So in a way, this whole process is learning by doing. They learn better because they're doing it, they're feeling it, they are in the environment. They are involving or engaging themselves in the whole together, the whole process of that teaching learning process. Now, we are in education, it promotes peer interaction, right? And when you are together in the same field, you are sitting in the classrooms, and you are interacting with your classmates, you are learning in a better way. And no doubt, when you are reliving those experiences, you tend to get emotional. You show your emotions while enjoying that virtual reality created environment. So by this process, it leads to visual learning, and it enhances the learning opportunities for the students, right? And before I begin, how this can be useful in the inclusive classrooms, I just wanted to share the educational status of persons with disabilities in India as per the census of 2011. It's very, very poor. See, the majority of the children with special needs do not receive any formal education, in spite of the practice of inclusive education in some schools, right? And this can be very, very useful for children with special needs, learners of all kinds, to be, they wanted to be in control of their own learning, so it enhances autonomy. Here the learner learn with his self pace, and he direct self-directed learning environment is created through virtual reality, removing distractions, as VR does promotes, it is most focus, it encourages, and it increases the concentration on the topic at hand, and the security of that pressure free, that they are not understanding, and they are, other students are able to understand, so that pressure that also goes away, because they are that this whole environment is judgment free, right? So it removes all kind of distractions. So students actively, they seek out a chance to learn inside that virtual reality, overcome, all kind of those I can say virtual these physical barriers, and for example, for the learners with physical impediments that limit their motion, right? And VR can access previously unattainable learning experiences by providing them the ability to navigate a virtual world at will. It can help them experience things they might have just ever imagined otherwise without restraints. So, an individual who is using a wheelchair, right? And he can learn about surfing standing up. He can feel, so that they can overcome various kinds of their physical limitations, or I can say other kind of physical barriers. It's a safe space for all kind of, learners, because here, the learners with communication challenges, such as, for example, autism, or where they lack social skills, and they are very, very feel threatened about their surroundings, here, because that is a simulated environment, they feel more space, and it is creating a safer place for such learners also. Certain virtual reality learning modules also help the users to interact with the real or virtual avatars in, situational or life imitating settings. It provides them a chance to, socialize. It gives them a social opportunity, opportunities they may not typically find in classrooms, and it helps them to develop social skills, because when they're interacting with others, they are social skills are also developing, they are becoming more confident, and they also felt that they also belong to that particular class, the sense of belongingness, that develops in them. So learners, they cannot be confined in the classroom, and with this help of this VR stimulated learning, educational institutes can provide students with a whole new learning experience that is practical and personal, right? So VR based learning ensures high retention rates, owing to this multi-modal exposure to stimulation as compared to the traditional ways of learning in classroom. It also boosts child's imagination and his creativity, and offer a world of opportunities through this VR led environments. And it also, encourages, I can say, multi-level teachings, learning. Actually, students can learn all together in the same classroom with their own pace. Okay, they can self-directed learning will be there. So in the same classroom, the students can learn at different levels, at different time, and all together with the same confidence. So it encourages the multi-level learning. So how, what will be the inclusive virtual classrooms will be like. I say I have the adapted this model from this technological pedagogical content knowledge, TPAC. This framework describes the knowledge requirements of teaching with technology. As teacher, we strive to be right at the center of this, this center of this Venn diagram. The three main areas, as the diagram is showing, it's technical knowledge, content knowledge, and pedagogical knowledge. Now, this technical knowledge, knowing what tools are available, and a teacher, she should be aware what tools are available, and she should be aware of any kind of barriers they might present to some of the learners, right? And the second important part of the knowledge is the content knowledge, knowing the subject matter, how to make any resources you use accessible, and the pedagogical knowledge, knowing how to deliver so that learning can be inclusive. So as a teacher, operating in this virtual classroom, there is a need to work with and combine the three types of this knowledge to benefit your learners. It would be impossible to meet all the learners' need, but you can do things to work towards being inclusive and reduce, those potential barriers. So with this, I would like to end my presentation with this note that virtual reality is the new future, right? And it's a new communication and a learning platform. By feeling truly present, you can share unbound spaces and experiences with your students in inclusive classroom. Imagine, sharing not to just moments with your students online, but entire experiences and adventures.